Hiya folks, and welcome to another Friday night. And it's quite a full Friday night actually. This tonight suits the weather. I don't want to be in here too long. It's absolutely, I'm looking at the thermometer in here. I need to get a fan. It's about 35 degrees in here at the moment. But we've got a few people coming on now. And at last the weather has changed. And you know, I'm having people come on the group page. I'm having people on the phone saying, oh God, it's going to ruin the fishing being too hot. Please, we've had it cold, we've had it windy, we've had it rainy. We've prayed for this weather. Now we've got the weather. Make the most of it. If you've got to fish early morning, if you've got to fish late evening, then that be it. But at the end of the day, it will be so pleasant fishing early morning for tench or late evening for carp or eel fishing all through the night. Make the most of it. Don't moan. The only downside, probably because of the night temperatures, I've got a feeling a lot of waters, the carp are going to spawn, and that will be it for a week or two. Most fisheries just shut while they're spawning, although some have still got the close season, which I think certainly within the next few days, by Monday, Tuesday, I think we'll be seeing a lot of carp spawn if they haven't already started in your place. But there you go. Try 4 till 9 or 5 till 10 after work or before work or the weekend. There's plenty of fish to be caught there. As soon as that temperature comes up and up and up, they'll want to feed, they'll want to eat, and for the first time you can start putting some bait in and make a few catches. Okay, got a full show, so let's get on with it. This week for me has not been that much fishing. It's been more of doing other things prior to my fishing that I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. I've got a lot of fishing laid on the next couple of weeks. I've been preparing for it, and also sort of I've had lots to do as a full-time angler, if you like. Instead of fishing, it ain't all about fishing, and I'll go into that. The one real highlight was doing an interview with Rob Hales at Patzel Park, and that'll be on in a few minutes. It'll be on here. It's already on Rob Hales's the RH Fisheries site. It'll be on there as it is now. It'll be on here permanently, and then it will, when this show goes over to YouTube, there will be a separate showing of the interview as well. I think it's fairly important for everybody in the country. I mean, it's not just the Midlanders. I think a lot of people are going to be travelling to Patzel. Certainly, when I spoke to Robert on the interview and outside the interview, you know, I mean, you can't put everything on the interview. There's just not the time, but it is going to be absolutely spectacular. The plans in place are unbelievable, and we'll be able to listen to the interview in a minute. Also, I popped up to Steve Greenway's pool because Steve was going up there, and my old mate Mike Eagles was up there. He's fishing. He was fishing for eels, and he was also having perch as well. I was really pleased. Lee Andrews, come on, I'll mention you in a minute, Lee. I sort of was very interested in what Mike was doing, because for years I've been sort of fairly upset the amount of eels that I've deep hooked, and I don't like doing it. In the last few years, I haven't eel fished at all, partly because of that, I think. But now this new Twig rig, I say new, I think the chap that invented it was about 5 or 6 years ago, and Mike's been using it as well, which is a stiff piece of biro tube held in position with rubber stops, and stops them getting it down them, and it really does work. It worked with the perch, and it worked with the eels. Couple of things I need to mention here, and to make sure, I actually phoned Lee Andrews, who's an expert eel angler, far more knowledgeable than me. Spent many hours. The way he reacts to the sun, I think too many hours, but sometimes. It's either a combination of too much Western super strength and too many nights away, but he's very knowledgeable on eels. And I phoned him up and asked about the Twig, and he said that It did work, but it also, you could miss a lot of runs if your baits was too big. And he looked at the photo that on that I'd put on a post, and he said, you know, those baits are too big, make them small and you won't miss bites and you won't deep hook them, which was interesting. The other thing I just wanted to confirm with him, I noticed that in the Angling Times there was a rig that showed the wire trace and an half roach, and it was hooked on the lips. It was an half bait and it was hooked on the lips. Now, I confirmed it with Lee Andrews, all the truth, Lee. And I confirmed with Lee that we would say that, you know, a big majority of the time, eels, like pike, will take the fish down with the head going first. Now, if you hook the fish by the head, that means when it's trying to get it into its mouth, it's got wire, it's got a hook, and it's going to drop it. So that is a very occasionally, and a lot of people will just hook it by the mouth and catch fish. But at the end of the day, even Derek, even Sean, you know, you can hook fish. An eel's ravenous, he comes in, he just picks it up and takes it. But let me tell you something now, you will get more takes, more pickups, more fish if you hook the fish like shown in there on there rather than in the mouth, because it's like pike. When you hook a mackerel or a half bait or whatever, you know, you put one treble in the tail and one down the middle of the fish. You don't put it the other way around, one in the head and one down the other way, because for the very fact when the fish is trying to get it into its mouth, it's got wire, you know, the bending of the wire, and oh, no, you're going to have a lot of drop runs. So keep that in mind when you're eel fishing. Okay. The other thing, there's a picture there on my table in my tackle den here, the back of me. I spent a lot of time the last week as well preparing. I've got trout, I've got carp, I've got sea trips, and they just come up on you and they need to be prepared, and rigs need to be tied, new line needs to put on, tattle looked at, etc, etc, and that's what I've been doing as well. And the other thing there, you see a photo, I did a talk down at Stourport for a group of lads, bit rough around the edge, the lads just like me. I thought, you know, they were just like me when I was a kid, you know, were they obeying to rules? I said to them, you know, ask. I think some of them have just think, well, you can just go fishing. Well, you can't. And, you know, you've got to ask at the shop, at the tattle shops in Stourport. There's a couple of shops in Stourport. Go and ask where, you know, the licenses you need, etc., etc. And where you can fish. You know, it's a lot better than having confrontation with owners and club secretaries, etc. And if you're a kid and you're acting responsible and you're acting well, adults will accept you and give you the benefit of the doubt and look after you. But they were a nice bunch of kids. They were typical young lads. Some were paying attention some of the time, some were paying all the time, some weren't paying any attention at all. But you know, that's kids, isn't it? You know, I enjoyed it. It was a bit of an ego trip for me. I was showing, you know, sort of sharks and big fish of various species, and I think some of the fish, luckily I'd got my phone with some of the photos on, because I think some of the fish that I was telling them, I think some were looking at one another and saying, you know, oh God, we got an old boy here giving it out some bull. But in the end, I think I won them over and we had a good night. So and hopefully, you know, I always say, you know, if you go with 8 blokes, 7 chaps like that, if one becomes a decent angler, then it's been worth it. And even if they don't become anglers, they get an appreciation of angling in the past, in the future, sorry. And it'll be good for the sport that we've got people on our side. So there you go. It was an evening well spent, and it was the first time I'd been in a police car without my arm up my back. I jest. Lisa, the police woman that asked me to do it, is a mother, is a friend, have been a friend of mine for many years, and it was a pleasure to do it for the not only the police force but for the family. Thanks for inviting me, Lisa. Okay, let's go to this week in the Angling Times, and I thought it was a decent copy this week. And the nice thing this week was these 2 fish here. the crucian and the record crucian, potential record crucian, and the potential record carp, king carp, I had a little to do with both of them in terms of the crucian carp. I knew probably before most people, certainly before the press, because Rob Hales phoned me up and said, you never guess what, been caught at Western on one of his waters, and he told me and sent me the photos, and I had photos to look at before I think anybody, which was really nice. He trusted me with it, which was nice. And the other one, the big carp that was caught at Waterside, the chap who caught it phoned me up and said where could he get, he actually contacted me and said where could he get his scales checked, and I hope I've helped him and hoping that he's going to get them verified that they are the weight or whatever. And so it was nice. It was nice to be involved with potentially 2 records. The other page that I brought up is Dominic Garbett, who I mentioned quite a lot on the Angling Times, because he writes some lovely articles, and he's there this week at Dartmoor catching small brownies. But the article in general, it's very difficult. I know how difficult it is because I only have a page. It's very difficult to get something really over quite well in a page, and Dominic got it over really well. He was on the dart in Dartmoor catching, and he gave the essence of the fishing, wildlife, the wildness, being on your own or just with a pal. It came over and it was absolutely beautiful. And it was going back to those kids in Staphorst. One of the things that they were going to be taught, they were going to be took to Lark, which is a fantastic place, and they'll catch a lot of fish. But I'd love to take those kids on there, or let Dominic take a kid there, because it's lovely to see the other side. It ain't all about a bite a minute. This thing about it can get kids to get a bite a minute. By the time they'll be anglers like, no, they're not. If you get anglers out there in the wilds like that and catching small trout and seeing wagtails and seeing dippers and seeing a barnacle early in the morning, that if they appreciate that, there's every chance that they will be an angler forever. A lot more than just as they called a carp the first thing they went. But that's my views. But lovely articles. As I said, there's 3 good pieces from the Angling Times. I just wanted to add one other thing up here. There's been a lot of mention in the Angling Times, and it's been mentioned on my Facebook page. People keep saying, £5 deals, 50 years old and a £6, they're 100 years old and whatever. An eel is the same as any other fish. It depends on where it's being put up. Anybody else buffering, or is it me? I don't know. Nobody else has gone that it's buffering. I don't know. But what I will say, it's just like any other fish. It depends on the diet, depends on the venue, it depends where they are. So there you go. Look, lads, I can't do anything about it. If it is buffering and you're having problems, then just keep it, because it just blows my mind apart that I think I'm doing that coverage here that's all buffering. So either turn it off or lay on. Okay, I'm going to the video. The video is from Patzel Park. It's the interview, and here we go. Well, Robert, over the past few months, I've had so many questions relating to Patzel Park, all concerning all the lakes, what's happening up here, etc. And I thought, I know Rob well enough that I'm going to sit down at Patzel and ask the questions they're asking and get the questions answered by the man himself. So, Rob, let's begin. I remember 40 odd years ago, I think it's 42 years ago, when I first met you in a tattle shop in Stourbridge. And Inglis of Stourbridge, yeah, it's not open anymore, by the way. It's shut a couple of years ago.
Taking the mickey out of me buying rig bins.
Yeah, that's it. But you were into this pool then, and you were fishing Patzel, dedicated carp angler. We teamed up after that, and we went to the likes of Cassian and whatever. But you always loved Patzel. You always loved the church pool, and now your dreams come true, hasn't it? You've actually purchased it. But the questions are, what are you doing with the fisheries, Robert? First of all, I think the pearl in the crown is probably the church pool. It was always a great favourite of yours, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And jewel in the crown, I don't know, it's super special. But the others are very, very special as well. And I think the Great Lake, which we'll come on to, and it's going to be open to the public, I think the Great Lake's going to be out of this world. But the church pool, it's 12.5 acres. We drained it, we started again, we've taken all the silt out the sides, we've rehomed the reeds further back. We've nearly finished completion of building all the swims, and it is breathtaking. And for me now, to see it restored and seeing it, we're holding already £60 plus carp, so it's up there with the best in the country, it hasn't even opened yet. It's super special. That one's going to be a syndicate. We're going to contact, we've had hundreds and hundreds of applications, obviously we're only going to have a 50-man syndicate on it. We're going to contact everybody this summer who's written to us to apply and form the syndicate this summer, albeit the fishing will start next June. So people know where they're going.
Is it worth, Robert, people still applying to go on a waiting list?
Oh, yeah.
Right, OK, so there will be a waiting list?
Yeah, because with all these things, all best intentions and everything, and people's circumstances and, cost of living and how tricky life is for a lot of people at the moment, when you write to everybody to join and they're on the spot to part with the money, you might lose 10 or 20% of the people who've applied drop out. Yeah. So all of a sudden the waiting list comes into play. So it's like anything. If you don't get your name down, you're never going to get in. But it will be a realistic waiting list, professionally managed and run, and you'll slowly move up the list like you would in a golf club membership, and hopefully your time will come to get access to the church ball.
Well, that's super. Probably the best news for my members is that 2 of the lakes are going to be open to the general public. It's not going to be syndicate. I know people moan that more waters are going to syndicates, etc. But you've actually done 2/3 of the waters that you've got here are going to be open to the public.
Yeah.
The decoy, which is better known probably as Lady Barbara's, how's it going to run there, Robert?
So the Lady Barbara's is just under 7 acres. We've started work on that. We've not completed the work on it. We're planning to open it in 2028. But as you quite rightly say, that'll be open to the public. And our thinking is at the moment, although we could hold a lot more anglers, we're going to do like a lake exclusive for a week, which is hugely popular with our other venues on RH Fisheries.
Yeah.
So 8 lads come along and they have a lake exclusive for a week. So probably Saturday to Saturday, 8 lads, and we're putting a mega stock of carp in there to well over £40 this winter. So they'll still have 18 months to settle in there before we open in June 28. So that will be open to the public.
Unbelievable. So they'll be able to make a group booking.
Yeah.
OK, the big one. What's happening with the big one? The Great Lake, which, what a name for it, the Great Lake.
It is mega though, isn't it?
You took me round. I haven't actually been on a boat for years on it. I pike fished it, and it was just one of the unknown waters, what was in there, whether it be eels, roach, carp, whatever.
Yeah.
And now you've got it, and it's going to be a day ticket, isn't it?
It is, mate, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The fishing that's going to be available and the fish that's going to be available to the people in this country, local people as well, to come to this water is phenomenal. What are you doing with it, Robert?
Well, it's a big project, this one. We're underway. We're well underway. Only last week we've taken out all the giant oak trees that have been in the lake, broken off and just dropped into the lake in 25 feet of water for 30 odd years. So the swim building started. We've been put back a little bit on the fishery lodge behind me. It's not in a suitable state anymore. It's got to be demolished and rebuilt. So the bat survey is coming to completion in the next few weeks, and then hopefully we can get cracking. That's put us back.
Is the bats in there?
Well, it would appear so. So they're doing a full survey on them, and once we've got the go ahead on that, we'll start building a new clubhouse with state-of-the-art facilities, wonderful shower and toilet block for ladies and gents, because we want to encourage the lady anglers to come and join us as well. But yeah, you quite rightly say it's 70 acres, it's massive. From where we're sat now in the bay, it's a mile to the top of the carp swims at the top of the lake. So there's going to be a number of swims, bank access swims in the bay behind us. There's going to be approximately 20 swims at the top end of the lake where you can drive to a car park and barrow your gear to your pegs. Yeah. And then there's going to be somewhere in the region of 30, 35 swims where you'll go load your gear behind us into a boat. Let's say it's boat 10, you go to swim 10, and we provide the engine and the battery and the boat and the life jacket and everything you need to make sure you're safe. All brand new equipment. You head off up the Great Lake, pull in on your swim. A lot of them will be staging, setting the reed beds, big massive platforms. So you'll be on your own, wilderness. Yeah. We've had water rails on here in the last few weeks. We've seen ospreys. So it's not all about the fishing. The fishing will be spectacular. I've had a day, mate, and it was. I know you said it was amazing.
I spoke to Harry about it, and you said it was hard to keep 2 rods in.
At one point, Harry had 4 fish in the same landing net. It was incredible.
It won't stay like that, but it's going to be incredible.
Well, for those who come at the start, they'll experience
it's going to be incredible. I think that's answered the question. Just to confirm, when are the waters opening? Barbara's will open to the public, or sort of to bookings. When do you think that is?
Well, yeah, they're 2 different dates. Good question. So the booking system will open next summer for all the venues. So the syndicate will be formed around then. But bookings for the Lady Barbara's Lake exclusives will hopefully be up on our website. The Patzel booking system will be up on the Irish Fishers website, and it will be open around next May, June. And also bookings for swims on the Great Lake for when we open in 28. That'll be available in May, June. It's starting to rain now,
and
but
the syndicate
hopefully it doesn't get too bad.
Yeah, and the syndicate opens
next June. Whereas the Decoy, Lady Barbara's, as it's known, and the Great Lake will open in June 28.
This is 2027.
Yeah, but another important thing, actually, you've just triggered my mind, is we're hoping to have, if everything's done and finished and ready, we're hoping to have an open weekend next May, which will advertise heavily. Hopefully you can let all your followers know that it's going to take place. And basically there'll be a weekend where we'll have anglers from the well-known companies like Fox and Corda and OMC fishing on the Great Lake. And the idea is we'll do tours on the boats, we'll take people up sitting in the punts, obviously with all the life jackets on, show them all around the Great Lake. The bait shop hopefully will be finished and open so they can come in and look at the bait shop, book swims and make reservations for the future. And also we'll take groups of anglers up on a tractor to watch the anglers fishing and actually catching the carp. And then we can also show people the Lady Barbara. So
is that going to be a weekend?
Yeah, a whole weekend.
A whole weekend.
Yeah.
And where will they stay?
They can just turn up for the day, basically. There'll be food available on site and drinks available on site. They can spend a few hours here or they can spend a day here.
It's incredible that I can see that over the next few years, festivals and fishing festivals, etc. is, it's made for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is made for that.
Yeah.
And well, to be honest, Robert, thanks for the information for the members, and I wish you luck over the coming years.
Cheers, mate. Good to see you.
You'll be successful.
We will, hopefully, mate.
How's that?
Spot on.
Perfect. We're getting piss wet through. Anything you
One
missed?
shot.
We kept that bit at the end about the rain and the absolutely piddling it down and whatever. Can you just let me know whether the sound, because people are telling me that the sound actually went off. I don't know if I've overloaded it with that film, because we've got a few films on today. I don't know if the sound's off, because if it is, we can't continue. We might have loaded too. I've got a big video from Phil Lane on and whatever. But if the sound's on there now, then brilliant. I'll continue. If you can let me know whether the sound's okay. Brilliant to have you, Patzel, for the interview. Dares All-Age Fishers. So somebody's just come on there. I don't know if the sound's on. If you could let me know, because it might be that I've overloaded it with videos. There we go. So anyway, the next the audio's good. Yeah, okay. It sounds great. Okay, let's continue with Ambrose. Ambrose does what he does, and he's cooking. Let's see what he's cooking this week. Let's get over to Ambrose.
How are we doing? Just on the club lake today, down at Wallet and all on Lake 2, just fishing a method feeder for skimmers, bream, or open for a tench, but I've had a couple of skimmers. So now it's time for some breakfast, and today we're having a steak and egg breakfast. So I've not had a piece of rump steak for a long time, and was that little market town on Saturday at Ely, and there's a butcher's there, and they had some nice pieces of rump steak. So I've got a piece of rump steak, I've got some onions, I've got a small baguette, and egg-wise, I've got the giant egg. It's such a big egg. And today I'm having a fried goose egg with that. I have had one of these before, and the chap was selling them on the market, and they are quite expensive, £4 each, but we'd get one. I think the only problem I had before was trying to get into it. It was a very tough shell. So it's just steak, egg, and onions, and a baguette. Just put a bit of lard in that pan and got that nice and hot. I think we can get that steak in. The change in the weather again, I mean, the last couple of days have been sort of really nice, and today it's windy and quite cold. I've pulled my rod in, I've just pulled the feeder in, because I've just, like I say, this time I have this breakfast. This is a steak and a half. I'm just gonna scald that to get that fat nice and done first. There's been a few tench coming out this swim, and that's why I decided to come to it, but the geese have been a little bit of a pain again. I've not had a piece of rump steak for such a long time. Today I've just got 2 ridge monkey pans. I've obviously got this one, and I've got this little one for the goose egg. So right, I'll get that steak nearly done, and we'll get that goose egg in the pan. Right, my steak is looking a few minutes from being done. The onions are looking nice, so I've put a little bit of butter and lard in this little pan. Now it's either going to be a fried goose egg or a scrambled goose egg, depending how I get on getting it out. It's so tough. It's going to be a fried goose egg. I've got that out perfect. That is some egg. I'm just going to do the top on this little pan's perfect for it, and that'll get it done quicker. We've got a bit of sunshine coming out now, and the geese are being quiet, so it don't get much better. Right, I'll get everything done and we'll get it on that plate. Right, everything's looking about done, so I'm going to kill the gas. Get that steak on first. I always used to have rump steak, but I don't tend to have it so much as I used to. It's just, I actually like rump. It's a cheaper cut as well. Get a plate full again. Get a few of these onions in there. I love fried onions. I could have put other stuff with this, but I've just got such a big steak and egg I've done, and plus I just didn't want to do a big cook up today. That is some egg. I definitely don't want to drop it, do I? That looks nice. There we go. Rump steak, fried onions, and a goose egg. So I'm going to get that up. It probably won't be any more fishing. It'll probably be asleep today after I eat all that. And yeah, just see how we do. I'm out tomorrow again, but I'm at probably a different venue tomorrow. I don't really enjoy fishing this time of the year so much as I do in the summer and that, because I don't know, it just seems so hard at the minute. And yeah, so get another month and I'll start enjoying it again when I get back on those, or just over a month, get back on the rivers. I enjoyed that a lot more than I do fishing lakes, but it's still nice to be out. So and this was cooked with ridge monkey pans, double ridge monkey gas burners. So once again, thank you very much for watching. Tight lines and full bellies. Cheers.
God blimey, he excelled himself there. That was absolutely. I couldn't hear the sound, but people were saying on there that they could hear the sounds of the steak sizzling. Which, oh my life! On my app that I do this program, I can't actually hear the sound of any of the videos. I'm just watching the video, but I can imagine the sound. It's a pity we couldn't get smells as well. Absolutely superb. Thank you, Ambrose. Okay, now let's move to the next thing. That's the nature trail. It's a very special one this week. It really is. His dedication on holiday with his partner. Paul, and yet still finds time to get out very early mornings and photograph this, which is tremendous, absolutely tremendous. Anybody that knows about bird life and how rare these birds were only a few years ago, you'll know what taking a picture of this bird is. Right, this week, this is obviously Paul talking. This week I've returned from a trip to North Devon with a limited time I had to manage to visit the stunning Mort Point. This rugged peninsula is an excellent spot for wildlife with a protected heathland, and a wide variety of plants and birds can be found along its coastal paths. The ragged rocks that stick out from the water, known as the submerged Devil's Teeth, the locals tell me claimed many vessels in the 19th and early 20th century. Well worth a visit if you're in the area. And then look at this. Whilst working my way across the coastal paths of Mort Point, I was amazed and felt very privileged, I bet you were, to be able to stop and photograph these Dartford warblers, no doubt busily bringing food to the nest hidden within the base of the thick gorse. These non-migratory birds struggle with harsh winters, and populations can crash to very low numbers. In fact, in the harsh winter of 62-63, there was just an estimated 10 pairs left. They can be identified by their long tail, red eye ring and red breast. They can be singing from the top of the gorse bushes in the early morning. They're fairly restricted to southern and coastal regions of England and Wales, with milder winters. What an absolutely fantastic spot, and what a fantastic thing to share with us. A rare bird indeed, a Dartford warbler. Just take a look at that. Absolutely fabulous. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for your dedication. Thanks for the photograph. Absolutely smashing. Really top hole. Okay, next on the show, I'm getting the sound's gone. I think the sound's gone back to normal. I think what happens, and I'll watch this in future. I think what happens if I load too many videos at the start, what actually happens, you have this, and I had it happen a couple of times last year and couldn't put my finger on it, and then towards the end of the summer I'd got it twigged that it may be this, and it looks like with the videos I've overloaded it a bit. It don't seem to bother the videos, it seems to bother my piece, but it seems we're on track again now. Okay, just a few tips from me, and it's something that I bought up. Phil Westwood, fabulous, Paul, and it really is. That's a very special, very special. Steve Greenaway, 37 species of bird in India, from Steve when he's just returned from India, and he was sending me photos. He was sending me photos from India, Steve, and some of the birds were absolutely incredible. It's great that we've got a group that really is interested in not just the photos of big fish. It's great. It really is. Okay, I talked about this subject, preparation, a few weeks ago, but I'll just bring it on now. We've got about a month before the start of the river season, and it's, make sure, for God's sake, don't wait. Next week will be 3 weeks, the week after that 2 weeks. Then all of a sudden, all these preparations are rushed, and you can drop boobs, and then you can't get your product that you want, your bait or whatever. So get prepared. So I've made a little list for you that might be of help. Okay, if you want some decent fish opening week, then 1 month to go before the river season starts. Re-spool and spare line in bag and car. So not only the river can be a really bad place for losing gear. And I always make sure that I've got a spool, a big spool of line, a bulk spool of line in the back of the car. Always have done, back of the seat, wherever, so that if you do run out of line, you've got one in. But make sure you've got the spare line in the bag in the car, but you've re-spooled this fresh line. Even if you put it halfway through the season, you probably haven't used the reel through the closed season or whatever. Just put new line on there and that's it. Leads and feeders, check you've got the amount of leads that you feed. The amount of times, I go into the tattle shop local to me and I sit there and have a cup of coffee, and the amount of people that, that just before the start of the season, they go, have you got any 3 ounce lead? I'm afraid we've run out. There's been a big, and you think you've had 3 months to get your leads. You've had 3 months to get your feeders. And then you just go in the week before, and there's that many people overload the tattle shop. They actually run out of leads and feeders, although they bought hundreds in. And if you did it now, they ain't run out. They got loads, and you won't be chasing around for leads and feeders that you want. Do it now. Check your nets. The amount of people that 2 days before start to put the gear ready, and they find that the keep net, or indeed, special land, the landing net's been et. The wader's been done over, the waistcoat or whatever. Check everything, on a regular basis. Don't wait till, that 2 weeks, that week, that day, the night before. Unbelievable. The bait supply, again, the amount of people that phone Willy Worms for boilies before this, right in the season now, and they say, oh, I've run out. And there's been a big influence of people that, if you do a month before something like that, that's when you should be doing it now, making sure, phone up, making sure you got your name on your kilo, your 2 kilos, your 3 kilos of bait, your pudding mix. If you got ordered casters or maggots, get them ordered now with the shop, so you're front of the queue. You ain't the one that's going, oh God, I went in last night, I couldn't get any bait, I couldn't get me boilers, I had to travel 30 miles to get. Well, you deserve what you get. If you ain't planning it now, a month ago, then you deserve what you get. General tattle checks, hooks, swivels, just go through the lot. There's nothing worse. I've got a bulk stock in my tattle room that I'm always topping up. Even every week as the season goes on, I think, oh, hang on, swivels are running low, my bait stops are running low, and I'm topping up. So that day when I get back, I top it up. But now this is the ideal time to top everything up. So you should never, after a 3-month break, and probably longer than that with the river being up, how the hell people get there? Oh, I ain't got enough hooks. Oh, I ain't got enough swivels. Oh, I ain't got enough beads. Oh, I forgot. When you've had 3 months at minimum, 4 months, 5 months, get it done. Rick Burton put a rope in the car for a river. I've always said this. And that is, get a dog, one of those dog spikes, put a piece of the top class nylon line, and then you sort of a good length of line on it, that even for the winter, even for the summer, when you can have rain and make the bank very skiddy, very slippy, it's always useful, especially on the River Severn where the banks are, or the Team where the banks are very, very steep. So general tattle, look at it, clean out the bagging boxes, clean out everything, have a look so that when you think, oh God, I thought that box had got such a, it hasn't. I thought it had a buzzer in. It hasn't. I thought it had. No, make sure. Now, this weekend, or bank holiday, you're probably going to do something else. But at the end of the day, as soon as the bank holiday's over, get steamed into these things I'm talking about and get it straight. Sun cream, Don't get burnt the first day. Don't get out there the first day on the river and spend all day on the river and get burnt. Get your sun cream. Get it now. Get it in the bag. Your glasses. Get your glasses in the bag. Get it all prepared now. And the one that I always say, and that is, get down to the swims before your first day. The amount of, I can't explain the disappointment that people have when they get there on June the 16th. They've got in their mind's eye, they've got up early, they've got a peg in mind, they've gone, And my God, there's a gravel bed that's come down the river and filled the hole that they were going to fish in. There's a tree fell over and they can't fish it at all. You know, all these things can go. That disappointment, you can get it over now. Go and check. Go and put some bait in. And as I've always said on this, you know, I cannot believe when people say to me, you know, oh, I always find, Des, is it the same with you, that it's a month into the season before they start eating bait? And I go, no, it ain't. They're waiting for me to arrive. The swims that I'm going to fish, they're already primed. They've been primed. They've been primed to pop in, you know, and just throw half a kilo, quarter kilo, some bait, some corn, some spare ground bait. Just throw it in. Just throw it in on 5, 6, 8 pegs, just a bit, just to get them used to bait rather than natural food. And if everybody does that, hey, June the 16th comes, they're waiting for it, and away you go. Rather than they have a month of bait, and it takes a month, and it's mid-July. Why do that? You know, short-circuit it. You know, start putting it in May now, and then the month is June the 16th, then ready to be caught. I say it every year. Very few do it. I don't know why. It's so obvious. It really is so obvious. And that's it. Just be prepared. I put a photo on earlier on my Facebook page about me getting ready for a trout session, and you know, it's the rods are ready, the lines, I've got everything ready. I've got the, you know, what flyers and certainly, you know, what I'm going to be doing. I've already talked to people, experts for the water, and know what I'm going to be doing, and I'm prepared to do it. If I fail, I'll fail, but I won't fail because of lack of prep, that's for sure. Okay, get prepared. Do it. After this weekend, after you've had your bank holiday and you got drunk and you're sobered up, get onto it. Get prepared. Okay, let's go to the Zero Fit prize. Excellent prize. And the Zero Fit prize that I haven't given to a photo for ages. It's always a big fish or a night fish. This is just on evening or early morning. I think it's on evening, probably sunset. And I just love this photo. It's by Stuart Hughes. And I always see things like this in the time, you know, I just thought to myself, wow, I've been there quite a few times. I really have just been there a few times. And, you know, you just had a fish right on, you know, the sunset. There you are out in the water with your landing net, and magical times. Absolutely magical. You know, you can't buy things like that. You can't see it on the telly. You can't see it on YouTube. You can't get that feeling watching. It's got to be done. And that to me, I can almost, because I've done it that many times, I can almost feel that photo. Superb, absolutely superb. There's a Zero Fit on its way. I'm not sure whether I ask for size. I'll do that when I come off. If you're listening, Stuart, I need your size. I'll have a look at that. I think I've already posted it off, and there's not a size, but I'll sort that out for you now after the program, and I'll make sure that can you send the prize, the size, and I'll do that for you. Okay, right. The HTO prize is this chap, Tom, a good member, Tom Kent, fisherman Tom, and he's fishing it. He's gone to a new water, and he's not a big perch, but he's gone to a new water, sussed it out, thinks there's some bigger perch in there. Him and his mates are just trying to catch some decent fish, and they've gone to a new water they've not fished before, and the write-up was superb about how his feeling was. You know, how he felt about catching fish on a new water with this excitement of, you know, maybe there could be 2s and 3s and maybe 4s or whatever. You know, you've always got that dream of on a new water and one you know very little about, of some decent fish. So your prize is on the way, Tom. Okay, next we've got another video, and this one's from Phil Lane. Phil did a zig film about, well, I don't know, 2 months ago, something like that, 3 months ago, and he's going to do it again. Not the same one, but he's as he explains in this, it's about summer zig fishing, and if you can catch an awful lot of fish using the zig, and if it's not a method that you don't get used to, you're missing out. You could be missing out. If it's allowed, that's the thing. If it's allowed, so let's get to Phil, see what he's got to say.
Evening, everybody. This week, I want to have a little look at a rig that we've already tied. This is the one that we tied the other week, the zig rig. Now, the reason is the weather is going to be getting hotter, and some anglers who are much better carp anglers than me once convinced me that the best way for me to up my big fish game was to become very familiar with zig fishing. Now, I know I sort of used to take the opinion of, I'm going to focus on getting them feeding on the bottom. It's what I understood. But it really does make a world of difference. And I'm just going to implore you guys to give it a try for at least one session when it looks like you're not going to maybe get a bite, when the sun's cracking the flagpoles. It's those sort of days when you can really turn it into a red letter day if you get proficient with zigs. Now, if you don't want to tie them up, fine, buy them. I mean, you can see here, this is from a quarter zig originally. They're great, they do the job very, very nicely, but do give them a try. I mean, a lot of people say they won't use a zig, but maybe they use a chod rig, and a chod is actually it's a very short zig. Anything that's sort of coming directly up into the water is essentially a zig. Now, the advantage is you've got all the advantage of using a single hook bait, i.e. the feeding fish in the area is going to see your bait first. But you've got also the advantages of a heavy baiting approach if you want to, because you can keep baiting and the bait will only be working maybe only for a minute or two in the area of your zig, and then it will fall through. So when the fish do show up, they're still going to be seeing your bait first, and later on you can drop some baits down on the bottom maybe and take advantage of the bait that's fallen through when you're not wanting to bait as heavily. They give the opportunity to explore an awful lot more water. I mean, in my experience, probably only 10 or 15% of anglers that you meet will use a zig and in any circumstances. And you think about if the lake's 13, 14 foot deep, how much that limits them. And so often we see the carp all up over the top. Maybe we have a surface rod with us, maybe not. But the zig sort of gives you a halfway house. They're not quite up on the top feeding, but they're certainly in those layers to explore. So you're also going to get a lot less competition in those areas if you think about it from that point of view. The downside can be people do say they foul hook more fish. In my experience, I've not found that. I found that possibly pop-ups foul hook the most fish. They catches them in the fins sometimes for me. I do find you pick up more trailers, and trailers of people who've snapped off on zigs. So make sure you're using a good strong bit of line. I mean, the fact is a fish should always be coming down from above onto your zig in order to rise up. So it doesn't matter if your zig line is quite thick. They're never going to see it. And give yourself a chance of landing every fish, because you don't want to be leaving trailers. So use a marker float or a deeper, or even nowadays, just have a look for a depth map of the venue you're fishing. So you've got an idea of what you've got in front of you pretty accurately. And your main area, I think in the summer, is going to be anything from half depth up to 2 feet below the surface. Don't go any closer to the surface from that, because remember, you want the fish to be coming down onto it in order to, when the hook pricks them, the lead then jumps, and that's what sets the hook. And they'll be perfectly hooked in the bottom lip every single time. If you start hooking them anything other than right in the bottom lip, you probably just need to go a little bit deeper, just 3 inches maybe. That might be all it takes. It can be little differences like that. when you're sort of finished with your baiting, sometimes dropping like a 1 foot zig is a really good way. So the fish will start moving down over the bait, and just have there'll be lots of bits of bait flying everywhere, because you'll be using quite a light mix, you would think. So just having a little 1 foot zig in there. Warnings, they will take it differently. They will absolutely scream off with a 1 foot zig. We're not expecting that at all. So the golden rules are: keep a very tight line, a heavy lead, because you need to really tighten up against it. If you're using an adjustable, so long as it's pinned down, that's fine. I personally would only use an adjustable if I'm looking at more than 12 feet. Anything less than that, I'm just going to cast out a normal zig. Watch for dropbacks. That's really, really important. A lot of your bites will be a dropback, and they won't seem like much because the fish is confused. It's not quite sure what's going on at this point. And very often you can sort of lean into the fish before it's actually realised that it's hooked. Play the fish on a long line, because you don't want them in close with it. It's quite a messy setup, a zig. So get them played further out. When they start to tire, bring them in. If you're on your own, make sure you've got a long landing net handle, but ideally get your buddy to help you out. But give it a try. Try it with all your rods when you try it, because you can try different depths. You can work out where the fish are. When you have the first session where it really works for you, you'll struggle to go back. And it isn't just small fish, it's big fish, it's fish that rarely get caught. You know, it's a great way to trip one up. And give it a try this summer. And if you persevere, if you get some skills with it, I guarantee you in the summer months, you'll outfish every other year you've ever had.
Thank you, Phil, for that. Super. Hope that helps you catch a few fish this summer. Certainly, it's a method, if allowed. That's one thing that you've got to be careful about. If allowed, there's various reasons why some fisheries ban the zig, and that's up to them. That's their decision. But that's one that just make sure you stick to the rules. Okay. The question of the week, which is winning the pudding mix from Willie Worms, and I know that they've got a good few bags in at the moment, but like I said in the preparation, if you do use the pudding mix and you do want the pudding mix, then get it now, because I tell you something now. If it's like most years, 2 weeks to go, there'll be this explosion of people. Oh my life! I want 2 bags of pudding. Oh, I'll get 3 bags. Oh, I'll get the month's worth. I'll get 4, and then all of a sudden there's none. And then 2 days before, there's people, and I've been told by Willie Worms 2 days before, there's people trying to get it, and they can't get it, and there's going to be another 3 weeks before it's in. So if you're going to do it, get it. It's the same with any product, whether it be mine or whether it be anybody else's. Make sure you get your name on it. Make sure you get it in your tattle den and getting ready for the start. But you can win that, and you can also win 4 spools of line. And what happens is, when I send your email with your name and address, etc., to James Robbins, he will get in contact with you, and you can decide on the breaking stakes you want. So that's great. Okay, so who has won it? That's the question, and the winner is Richard Edmonds, and he asked a lovely question that I've been seeing some lovely photos of Steve Greenway in India, and when he's come back, he showed me more. He sent me over from birds and in the water and fish and whatever. They'd never had any huge fish this time, but I think they had something like 15, 16 fish up to 17 pound. That's fabulous. I think they were under threat of a leopard coming in all the time, which is total excitement. And just imagine that I know it's quite frightening, but on your dying bed, that's the sort of thing I would think. You think, well, I did live, to see things like that. It's magic. And the thing with India, this is why I brought it up. The best fishing holiday, this is Richard Edmonds, the best fishing holiday you've ever had, and why? Well, I've had some incredible fishing holidays in my time, with some great friends, some great spots, in great weather, had some incredible fish, etc., etc. But, you know, I'll always come back. The whole package to me was India. You know, camped on a beach, on the River Corbury, with a like-minded, serious anglers there, coming back at night, you know, through the darkness, coming back to the camp, and you know, the excitement of crossing in a coracle, a river that, you know, was packed with crocodiles, and you know, you could see their eyes on the bank, and then when you were going across, you could see the, you know, them going, the eyes going into the water, and you think, you know, oh my life, that, you know, they're around us. And you know, then you get there, you'd have your dinner, then you'd have too many beers, and you'd tell stories to the 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you know, oh, it was fantastic. I was young enough to do it, I was young enough to drink it, and I was young enough to experience it and fish the next day. Probably I must have had 24 hours in 2 weeks there, sleep, but my God, it was fantastic. I enjoyed it so much. It was wild fishing, wild fish, some wild people as well, me included. So that for me probably is one of my best, if not the best holiday. Not the best fishing, but the whole package, I have to say, was you know, the business. Okay, the next question is Lee Stewart Disher. He wants a big eel. He's found a water. It's 22 acres, and it's already produced some big eels. Well, let me tell you something. That for me, not necessarily for yourself, that for me, and I think, no, it's a pity I wasn't first in, because when you're first in, you have the best pickings. That's nigh on for sure. Or the best pickings without putting too much time in. You know, the one thing I don't do as an all-rounder is put huge amounts of time. And I'm talking now as a bloke that's, you know, making the most of quick sessions and not too long after. You know, I'm not going to spend 5 years on a water after an eel like dedicated eel anglers do. But certainly, I would, if I was fishing that water, you know, I would, at the end of the day, I would now be fishing, starting, you know, this is a great period, these warm weather, but especially in August and towards September, when the water's at its warmest, the fish are feeding, there's plenty of fry. This year's fry, you know, the fry that about this big that have, you know, sort of May they spawned, they'll be eating those for sure, you know, and you know, and don't worry about being in a snagged area. Don't get that in your head. Oh, I've got to find snags and that's where they'll live and whatever. You don't want to fish where they are in snags. You ain't going to get them out. Remember, a big eel, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pound, can back into it. And he don't need to turn around and put his head into it. He can back into it, grab it with his tail, and you're absolutely knackered. So what you need to do, you need to put your bait out in open water, in the margins or in open water. Then when you get your take, you can land him. That's a good tip, right? I always fish dead baits. Some people use worms, some people use prawns, some, you know, the pointed nose is a worm eater, which I don't know how they can become worm eaters, because they never see any worms. You know, lobworms do not swim out in that 22 acres. Those eels will not see lobworms out there. They don't see them. Lobworms don't swim out to gravel pits to be eaten by eels. So I don't know where that comes from. But, you know, they're probably crustacean eaters. But let me tell you something now. My biggest eels, my 6s and my 7, were all pointed nose, supposedly worm crustacean eaters, and they had whole or half baits. In fact, I think 6s and the 7 had whole baits. So that, you know, that sort of gets rid of that sort of that statement, hopefully. But putting time in with eels, especially if they've been caught, you've got to put time in, and you've got to put time in on spots. And I always say, you know, if you're there on a good night when eels are feeding, it's almost as though you can blank, then all of a sudden, just one night, it's though the water is full of eels. You're having takes from everywhere. And it's not that there's that many eels, it's just that the eels are just searching, they're picking up baits, dropping the takes, whatever. They're just everywhere. They search everywhere. I know on the smaller waters I fish, I wouldn't fish at 22 acres because to be honest, I don't spend enough time eel fishing, and you probably don't. And you've either got to say you're going to spend enough time, because if it's 22 acres, it ain't going to be easy to catch a big eel, right? If you ain't willing to put the time, then try and find a smaller water, you know, a 3 acre, a 4 acre, a 5 acre lake. A lot easier to search out. A lot easier. But if you want to do this one, then go with it. Me personally, I'd fish if I could. I've got licenses for 4 rods. I'd put the 4 rods out. I'd spread them out into the margins, out into the middle. One chucked as far as I could, halfway into the. I'd just spread them out in the swim, and then I'd fish. And don't clear off too early. Don't get there too late, because I tell you something now. Many is the time I've been on a session, and my best time is I've had 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. In the middle of the night can be good. It can go dead, and then all of a sudden at 1 and 2 o'clock you get a take. But make no bones about it. Don't forget the early morning period. The amount of people that go, the light comes up, the sun rises, and they think that's the end of it. The eel ain't going to feed. Oh no, you've got to be joking. That can be one of the best times to catch an eel, when the dawn breaks. The sun comes up, you're just starting to think, oh, it's getting a bit warm here, I'll have a cup of coffee, I'll clear up. No, I never clear off till 10, 11 o'clock, because you can have another one, definitely. Especially if there's been a good night and you've had a couple of eels when they're fed, and there might be just another couple just drifting around just after the pickings before, before dinner time, you can get them. So that's it. I hope that's been of help. If you personal message me, if I can be any help, you know, if you're struggling on that water, then if I can give you any help, then personal message me and I'll see if I can help you. Okay, Nicky Carter. Do I use? Is it Nicky Castor? Am I right? Nick Castor or Nick Carter? Sorry, but Nick. Do I ever use plastic baits? Yes, I do, and I really rate plastic baits if allowed. A lot of waters, I don't say a lot of waters, but some waters ban plastic baits because they're permanently fishing if they crack off or whatever. I always say I don't crack off or lose that many fish, so it ain't a worry with me. But yes, I've caught a lot of fish on plastic corn, plastic maggots, and especially plastic casters. Really, really do rate those. I love my favourite rig. In fact, I think I've got one up here. Yeah, just hang on. One of my favourite. It's so simple. It's so simple. You can't really do it with knives. You can't do it with fluoro because it's too stiff. But a bit of braid. When you look at that, what I do is I put a sinking piece of plastic corn there, and then a floating piece there. And if you look, I've chopped it. You see where I've chopped with the scissors? And that will then, I've got it with the hook line on the bottom, and then that popped up. So the hook is lying on the bed, and then the line, you can't do it with, you can do it if you do fluoro from the hook as the hook length, and then use a braided hair, because you need that to pop up. You need it to pop up. And that, because that is almost, you know, a wafter. Well, it's a pop-up, but it's like what a wafter does. It leaves the hook. It leaves the hook down on the, it's perfect presentation. You know, that, my life is such an incredible rig. I had a big fish on that. I had a 30-pound carp on that one, and that's why it's up there on my, there's a few rigs up there I've caught big fish on, and that one is just a rig that's up there on the woodwork, just a memory of that 30-pound carp I caught on that. But I've had no end of fish on that, no end of big crucians on casters, no end of big carp on maggots. But although I'm using real maggots, I'm also, what I do is on a loop I will put a couple of false ones as well. So with the little ones, little fish have plucked them off, at least I'm fishing. you know, at least I know that there's something there for them to pick up. And especially if I'm putting plenty of maggots in, they're not picking the plastic up, they're not picking they're just going and picking the lot up, and the plastic maggot goes in and away you go. So a long way around to get to answering you. Yes, I do use plastic if I can. Connor Skippy Smith, sorry. He's thinking about buying a boat, and he's thinking about fishing on the Severn, I think. Well, can I just say to you, Connor, first, buying a boat and getting a boat ain't a hobby. It's almost a change of life. You know, especially if you're going to take it down there and put it in, or if you put it in a marina, you've got to look after it. You've got to pay for the mooring rights or whatever. It's an expensive game, and it's very dedicated. You know, you've got to spend most of your time either messing with a boat or what. It ain't just a casual thing, because what it ends up then is on your drive and you never use it. So that's the first thing, right? So think seriously whether you're going to dedicate a lot of time to boats, because if you're going to, then you have to. But the main tip, because I haven't got time to go in the tips. The main tip: make sure you're safe. You will see lots of videos, and you'll have seen me in the past sometimes without life jackets on or whatever. Hey, there's a lot of people drowned in the river, especially the river. Make sure you've got a life jacket on. Make sure you're safe at all times. Make sure the boat is safe. Make sure if you've got a guy in with you that you don't both go to the same side, the boat tips over or whatever. There's some awful things that can happen. What I will say to you is, once you've decided to do it, then make sure you're safe all the time. You know, don't take any risks. Flooded river, don't go on it. That first year, don't go on it. Be safe. Be safe. Okay, Tracy Jensen. My son wants to know which is the best fight you've ever had out of a fish. Well, no doubt you want to know the UK, but I will say probably worldwide, pound for pound, is a yellowtail jack in South Africa. I've never held anything like it. You know, 40-pound line, quite a 30-pound glass rod. You bring in the lure up from the reef. You're probably, I don't know, 20 foot up from the reef. You hit it. You're locked on. You can't pull an inch off the multiplier. This fish, it rips it as though the multiplier has gears gone. It's almost as though it's slipping, and it just rips it off and goes back into the reef. It's just incredible. Nearly pulls you off your feet. It's and these are 30 and 40-pound fish, but they're intense. They are absolutely an incredible fish. There's nothing, whether it be catfish, carp, barbel, whatever, you know, they are playthings compared to these. They are a serious bit of kit. They really are. I would say in the UK, in the river, then, you know, I would say the barbel. You know, you're gonna. It's hard to beat a barbel. That's for sure. Especially if if you're on quite heavy gear, on 12-pound line, something like that, 12 or 15, and you can feel the true fight. Because to me, you know, people that say, "Oh, I love to catch them on 4 and 6-pound line," you're not feeling the fight. You're afraid to actually feel the fight. All you're doing is letting line off and the rod at the bend. You know, they say, "Oh, give them a chance." I don't want to give them a chance. You know, I ain't out to give them a chance. I'm out to land them. And the way, to me, to get a fight is short, is hard, the rod's bent over, they're pulling at me, and that, to me, is a fight. Not the rod's just going, and it's hardly bending over, and it's an hour. You know, I want a big fish in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but, it's a fight. I'm having a strong fight, and if that is, I would say a barbel. Mark Goodman, a tope. Yeah, a tope's a great fish in this country, but certainly if we talked about sea fish in this country, now we'd have to put the thing would be, although they're monstrous, you would have to say a tuna, a bluefin tuna. My life, I remember 2 years ago, me and John Hettle had a couple each, and then we got blew off the next day, and the skipper said, "I'm sorry, mate, we're going to be blown off." And we said, "No, we're so happy that we got blown off. We didn't want another 2 the next day." Our shoulders, we were both, I mean, John's about mid-60s and I'm sort of mid-70s. My shoulders was nearly ripped off. My arms were dropping off, and I thought, oh no. And then when the wind blew and it was off, I thought, thank God for that. So yeah, they are a fish to rate. But no, Mart, tope are fantastic. I've had tope up to £60 off the Essex coast. And you know, when you're using uptide, a 6 to 8 uptide, you know, £20 line, £30 braid or whatever, then they are a tremendous fish, especially when there's a bit of a tide race and they're on the tide running, the running tide. Then they are a tremendous, especially the first run, especially the take, you know, when it's sort of boom, you know, pull into it. Great, absolutely magic. Okay, James King, what needs to be done to get our eel numbers up in the UK and indeed the world? Well, James, to be honest, it's a hard thing to say, because we know what needs to be done for everything. We need the plastics to be sorted out that's going into the rivers and into the sea. We need the pollution. We need the predators. We need the overfishing. There's so much to sort out. Whether it be sorted out, certainly, I don't know whether it be sorted out in your lifetime. It won't be sorted out in mine. That's for sure. But you know, there's so many problems with the river. There's so many problems with the sea that you know, an eel and the likes of salmon are indicators of our world, especially the salmon. The salmon is an indicator of how the world is, you know, how good it is, how good the pollution or whatever. And if you look at the numbers of salmon and the deterioration of salmon fishing, that will tell you what we're doing to our planet on the rivers, the oceans, etc. So we need to sort it out, James, but it's a long way and a hard job to do. Okay. The last one is by Colin Hareburn. Colin's a photographer. He worries about the use of AI. Well, you know, don't worry about it, mate. It's going to be used. We've seen it used all the time. I think for enhancing things, I mean, I've got a mate who enhances things for me. When I say enhances them, if I've got a photo, somebody's took a photo and I've got an aerial sticking through my head or the rod at the back, and I think, oh no, that's ruined the photo. You know, I can give it to him and he can take the rod away. You know, I don't think that's cheating. I think that's making the photo better. I've not enhanced the fish or whatever. I've just enhanced the photograph. I've noticed some sky, you know, sky is made better and sort of, you know, like a painting. When somebody makes a painting, you might just, you know, just exaggerate it just a bit, how red it was or how orange it was or whatever, you know, but just makes it nice. And I think that there's not a loss in that. We all feel a bit better when we see a beautiful photo like that might have been enhanced. But I know what you mean, Colin. I think we're going to be open to cheats, and we are going to see. You know, I remember when I was a kid, that was the commonest of saying, you know, a photo doesn't lie. Well, a photo does lie now, definitely does lie. And I think we'll see problems, big problems over the next few years with, you know, celebrities and whatever with the photo. You see them on Facebook and TikTok and whatever. And, you know, you see them doing silly things and they're not even there, and, you know, and away it goes. You know, that's the awful side of it, but can't do anything about it. We'll see where we go. The only thing I've done on my thing is I've said, you know, yes, if you're gonna use AI on my page, on my group page, then say you are. You know, you don't need to say what it is. Just say this is an AI enhanced picture. So, you know, you ain't gonna certainly wouldn't win a big fish prize if you thought that it's been enhanced, or even say I have enhanced the sky, I have enhanced the background to make it a better photograph. As long as you don't touch the fish, as long as you don't start making the fish bigger or whatever to win prizes, win trending cups or whatever, then I can't see any great problem, because we ain't going to be able to stop it anyway. So there you go. Okay, the we'll move on to the last couple of prizes. I'm hoping that nobody's been moaning about the buffering and the jumping, so it looks as though it sorted itself out. It's funny, isn't it? In the summer, when it gets hot, it's either hot or cold, and it affects the reception. That's for sure. Okay, the Willy Worms Boilies winner is this one, and I just thought it was a lovely photograph. Nice smile, chuffed his hell with it. Any lovely common, fin perfect, scale perfect. Just as good as it gets, you know, not a monster carp, but a nice big carp. It's lovely photograph, and by Peter Campbell. And I just thought, yeah, you deserve a bag of boilies for that one. No problem at all. Well done, Peter. Your boilies will be on the way. I haven't received anything from you yet, but if you send it, then yeah. And Anton, I would totally agree. Been accused of it myself, only taking out trees objects. That's great. There's no problem at all. There's nothing, you know, if you've got a lovely photo of a big tench, Anton, you know, and it's a beauty, and it's a 7, 8, 9 pounder or something, and it's a beauty, and like you've looked and you think, oh God, my mate's took in, there's a bloody dustbin with some, you know, some paper and some toilet paper sticking out the top, or dog poo and a dog bag, and you think, oh, and you take that out, then great. I've got no problem with that. Anybody that would, I'd rather see a photo without the dustbin and the dog poo in than things. So brilliant. Okay, so yeah, Phil Westwood, great fish, great photo. Well done, Peter. It is. Well done, Peter. You deserve that. And then the Dinsmore prize. The Dinsmore prize is lovely big tench. Ollie Glanville. Ollie Glanville. A lovely fish. It looks like a big sheet of water, either a big reservoir or whatever. Super fish. 8'10". Look at the fin, look at the back tail on that. It looks still a bit hollow as well. So that, you know, I could see a fish like that going up to nigh on double figures, you know, because I don't think they're anywhere near spawning yet. I don't know if anybody can confirm that. Certainly, I haven't heard of the local waters with the tench spawning yet, and not filled a great lot of tench bursting with spawn. So, well done, Ollie. That is a great fish and a great photo, by the way. You know, I think it just shows that, you know, the water you're fishing, you got your rods there in the reeds and the sedge. And yeah, lovely. I love that. That's a super, one of the best photos I've seen for a while of tench. That really is nice. Okay, and that's it. I won't be doing a show next week, and the reason I won't be doing a show next week is because I'm out fishing. I'm going away for a few days and see if I can sort some decent fish. I'm going about, I think, 3 or 4 days. We'll see what happens. And really looking forward to it, and I'll let you know when I get back how I've done. But then there'll be a show the week after, and hopefully there'll be a few shows that go, you know, after one another. That's it. So okay, I'm not on next week, but remember, wherever I am, I will be looking. I will be in touch. I will be in touch with I'm always, you know, sort of clicking on in the morning, clicking on in the afternoon, see what's going on, look at the photos, and the help from admin and the help from moderators always keep me in touch. So just keep the stuff coming. You know, the page gets better, the group gets richer all the time. You know, whether it be small fish, big fish, pole fishing, whatever. Can I just end, actually? I did have a question. I nearly put it in. I will quickly answer, because somebody asked me, why do I never use a pole? And I do use a little whip sometimes to catch live baits. I've got it in the car, and I've got a little pole flap there, and that's the only reason I use it. I don't like using poles. I never have done. You know, somebody said to me, and I think it just sums it up, I'm being flippant, and I'm not taking the mickey out of people that use poles. I just say, you know, somebody said, hey, you'll get used to it. Just try it, Des. After a while, you get used to it. I say, hey, after a while, I'll probably get used to losing a leg, but it don't mean I'm going to enjoy it. So, you know, I don't want to, you know, if I don't enjoy something after a few times or right away, I don't want to do it. I don't need to do it. There are times when I know for a fact There was a time down Dunmaston the other week. I was stuck out, and it was so drift. The wind was blowing so hard. I thought, oh, if this was Nuddy with his 14, or James Robbins with his 14, 16-foot one pole, he'd be stuck out there. The float would be stuck there, not shifting it all, going under. And he'd bag up. I couldn't hold it with the Wagner, and I weren't going to go on the method feeder, and I weren't going to go on a straight lead, so I went home. But hey, you know, that's the way I am. I want to fish, especially as I get older. I want to catch my terms, want to catch, you know, my way, and catch the fish I want to catch. So I hope you've enjoyed the show.